Hi. So, different to my normal conversations today, we're having a conversation with Geoff Wade up in Gateshead. And Geoff has been instrumental in coming up with and helping me support the Return to Swimming Lessons survey. So, Geoff, just before we start, give us a little bit of insight about you and what you do up there in Gateshead, please.
Yeah, hi everyone. So I'm the Aquatics Officer for Go Gateshead, which is a local authority brand basically of our leisure centres. And we operate 5 leisure centres in Gateshead. Our swimming lessons programme is around about 3,500 customers. So it's quite a large programme, which I'm in the process of trying to double in size from where I started. And I have been working across the country and for other leisure providers and local authorities over the past 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where we first met, of course, in Barking and Dagenham. So you had that really impressive swim scheme that went on at Becontree Heath, but more importantly, the piece around the 50-metre tank you managed to get in there.
You said it would never be done, and it finally was done.
Absolutely. I hold my hat to you, mate. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So, yeah, worth a look, actually, if you do go and have a look down that part of the world. Really interesting site. So let's just talk about the survey. Why was the survey so important to you, Geoff? Why did you want to do this?
Well, I think we're all looking at how things are going to be when we're able to reopen, and it's all very well looking at what measures we have to put in place, but actually understanding what the customers feel about those measures and whether what we put in place is actually going to attract them back is really critical. We've heard a lot in the past couple of weeks with schools starting to reopen that the numbers of parents sending their kids back to school is sort of around about 50%, plus or minus a bit. So theoretically, swimming lessons are probably a similar sort of ratio that we're going to be looking at. And it's really important to make sure that what the measures we do put in place are going to mean that customers are confident to return to us.
Absolutely, and I think I'm going to have a new mantra for my business, which is putting the customer at the heart of our decision-making process. Because by you requesting the survey from us and us saying, well, actually, let's look at this from a national point of view, I think what we'll be able to do is, yes, look at what's happening in Gateshead, but we'll also get a view from what's happening around the country. And that will also support, you might get some outliers in Gateshead, you might have a different way of doing things because of the way you've communicated and things like that. So to be able to benchmark and get that national picture was important to us as well. So I just want to thank you for pushing me in this direction. Really useful. And we've had some quite interesting...
Is the R number in different areas. Like
yes.
Gateshead was one of the areas, I think it dropped down a bit now, but it was one of the highest rates in the country. And whether when we look at the postcode analysis, whether it actually shows that the areas of the country where we've got high R rates and high rates of infection, there's a difference of opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really interesting point, and one of the values of doing the postcode analysis. It also, of course, lets us look at the socioeconomic groupings as well, because we can do some work with Mosaic and look at the postcodes from that. So that will be some interesting insight to come. So look out for the summary and the full reports that we're going to write. But you've put yours out, I think, Saturday morning about 10 o'clock. You got nearly 900 responses in 4 hours. I think you're about 1,360 responses so far, and you've had a quick look at the results, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm always to be honest, I was looking at the results from about the third or fourth person responding, and it is very interesting, some of the information that's coming out of it.
Yeah. So what's been the highlight then? What thing have you gone, actually, I wasn't expecting that?
I think the highlight for me is the question on social distancing within the pupils in the class, because ultimately that's the bit the parents are worried about, what their children are doing within the lesson. And we all know in the discussions about schools reopening, there's been a sort of implicit understanding that young children, it's very difficult to socially distance them, and that might be why many parents have chosen not to send their kids back to school. And I think that has been borne out by the results of the survey so far, in that it's basically 50-50 on the parents who say if the social distancing can't be strictly enforced within a swimming lesson, they'll not be willing to put their child back in. So I think we've very much got, and this is not just for swimming, but I think we've got this split between people who are wanting to just get on with life and whatever measures need to be put in place, deal with that, but just then get on, and the ones who are a little bit more reticent and worried about the COVID situation and don't want to put themselves at any risk. But it really depends on your own personal risk, sort of risk nature, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's all about the risk mitigation and our appetite for risk. I was quite interested, and I saw this as an operational challenge, was around some of the spectating and things like that, and the whole logistics of getting a kid ready to go swimming and getting them back out of the pool. I thought there was quite some interesting stuff coming out of there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been involved with the Swim England guidance that the operators have been consulting on, and one of the clear things from that for me was that the social distancing of parents on the spectator area is possibly going to be the more difficult aspect to manage than managing it in the pool, because you know the spectator areas generally in swimming pools are quite small. If you've got a leisure centre with multiple lessons running alongside each other, you're just not going to have the space for adults to be 2 meters distance away from each other. So then what kind of measures can you put in place to allow the lesson still to go ahead? Do you need to get, like those restaurant pager systems, so that, if a child needs them, you give them the pager system and then they have to go and wait in their car? Because some leisure centres, the amount of space they have available, that probably is the only option if you want more than like a single class of 6 pupils in the book at any one time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the interesting bit, is when you start looking at some of the results that you're getting already, it's already starting to shape your thinking for the sites that you operate, because you can picture them, you know what it's like normally. And let's face it, swimming lessons is normally one of the busiest times of the day for us. That's sort of 4 o'clock till 6 o'clock slot. So being able to have a heads up around the challenges that are going to face us that really do come from the heart of the customer, I think is really powerful. So is there anything else where you've gone, yeah, I might need to think differently about what I was going to do?
Yeah, I think it's down to when people are expecting to return, and I think really there's probably not going to be much point in any of us starting any normal weekly swimming lessons until after the summer. I think, if lockdown is sort of released slightly, I think people are going to want to take that time to relax and go out and about, not necessarily be sort of held to a weekly swimming lesson at a certain time. So I think the opportunity is that we can probably put on crash courses over the summer holidays, give people a bit of a boost, because we're going to have that problem that they're coming back to swimming lessons after 3-4 months away. Ability level is going to have deteriorated, so we're going to need to give them a bit of a boost to get them back to where they were. And then I think really until schools go back properly in September, that's going to be the point at which people properly start considering coming back to swimming lessons. So I think that's the way I'm looking at the moment, having some kind of crash course program for as many people as are interested over the summer holidays, and then get back to normal service or some form of service from September.
Yeah, that's interesting. You mentioned the swimming levels, because it felt, when I had a look at your results, parents seem to be very protective of the level their child's got to. So rather than do a assessment and get them into the right level, they seem very protective of, my child's got level 3 and therefore should be in level 3.
Yeah, and it was basically 75% of parents wanted to stay in the same class. Now, from my perspective as a swimming teacher and a tutor, I would rather get everybody into the right level for them, and rather than having that sort of multi-ability level, having to deal with that. But that's the parents' opinions. But again, each parent is probably thinking not necessarily on what the new situation is going to be. If you said that in a normal situation, everybody wants their child to sort of move up all the time. But given that it's going to be every single child potentially who needs to be reassessed, is it then so much of an issue if people shuffle around a little bit, if that's going to be the best way to teach the child? Haven't made any decisions on that one yet, but yeah, certainly the parental opinion is that they want to stay within the same group.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you've had time, but I had a scan through all of the comments, because we have a comment at the end about additional, and it was really pleasing to see so many people saying thank you for thinking about this early, and thank you for asking us. And I think that's sometime when you do consultation, people forget the value of people feeling as if they've been included and being able to give their opinion. So without doing what you've done and requesting the survey and supporting us and helping us with writing it, etc., we wouldn't have got that type of feedback. So for me, that's a really valuable, just a tiny piece of insight that actually, as we've said, putting the customer's views at the heart of our decisions is really important to us. So anything to just share before we finish?
I think the response rate has been great so far. I mean, we're up to about 50% response rate from our total customers. I've only done the initial push at the weekend. I haven't sent further messages out to people as yet. I will do so in the next couple of days to try and push it nearer. But I think in comparison to the fitness survey, where it was probably about 10-12% we had, you know, we're getting that 50% minimum response rate from customers. It shows how much people, you know, really are interested in their children's swimming.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
you know, we need to put the right measures in place to get people back swimming.
Okay, brilliant. So effectively, thank you, Geoff, for what you're doing. There'll be links on to the survey so people can still take part. It's totally free. There's no cost attached to it whatsoever. Geoff, thank you so much for your time, and we'll catch up again later when we've got some results to talk about the national picture. Okay.
Indeed.